In the vast multiverse of Magic the Gathering, few figures blaze as brightly as Chandra Nalaar. A formidable planeswalker and pyromancer, Chandra's journey is one of passion, rebellion, and an unyielding quest for freedom. So I hope your coffee is blazing hot today. Let's dive in. From her earliest days, Chandra has been intrinsically linked to red mana. Mostly of course because of the essence of fire, which is mostly linked through jokes, red mana jokes, and freedom. This connection shapes her character, infusing her with a fervent spirit, a penchant for impulsivity, and an insatiable desire for independence. Fire in Chandra's world is more than a mere element. It symbolizes her inner turmoil, her drive to challenge oppression, and her relentless pursuit of justice. As we delve into Chandra's story, we'll witness how her fiery nature not only is about fire, but how it propels her through trials and triumphs, molding her into the hero she is definitely today. Our story starts in the bustling city of Kirapur, on the vibrant plain of Kaladesh. Young Chandra Nalaar's childhood was anything but ordinary. Born to inventive parents, Pia and Kiran Nalaar, Chandra was surrounded by the hum of creation and the spark of innovation. Yet, while her family thrived in the art of invention, Chandra's innate gift was of a different nature. She was a pyromancer, a wielder of fire in a world where such magic was strictly forbidden. From an early age, Chandra grappled with the constraints imposed by the consulate. Basically, her world around her was telling her that she could not be what she was. Kaladesh's governing body, the consulate, had stringent regulations which suppressed any form of unsanctioned magic because it would be too strong, especially the volatile and destructive force of fire. This repression clashed with Chandra's very disposition, leading her to question authority already and yearn for a freedom that seemed perpetually out of reach. Her parents, deeply involved in the renegade movement, fighting against the consulate, sought to challenge the oppressive regime. They believed in a world where creativity wasn't stifled by bureaucracy and where magic could coexist with invention and where their daughter could be free to be who she was. Their clandestine activities often placed the family at odds with the law, fostering in Chandra a rebellious spirit, a need to let out her fire and a desire to fight for what she felt was justice. During this video we will be doing some side stories which didn't really happen, but we will explore what would happen if Chandra would have taken a different path. First, the road not taken. What if Chandra wasn't a rebel? In the bustling city of Kirapur, now on the plain of Kaladesh, the air still hummed, but it hummed with the harmonious symphony of whirring gears and hissing ether. Here, invention was the lifeblood that coursed through the veins of society, and the consulate stood as the vigilant guardian of order and progress. Amidst all of this innovation lived Chandra Nalaar, a spirited young woman born to esteemed inventors Kiran and Pia Nalaar. From a tender age, Chandra was enveloped in the world of creation. Her days were spent in her parents' workshop, where the scent of molten metal mingled with the sweet aroma of spiced tea. Kiran's gentle guidance and Pia's sharp intellect nurtured Chandra's burgeoning talent for invention. Under their watchful eyes, she learned to channel her boundless energy into crafting intricate devices that danced and worked with life. However, beneath her dexterous hands lay a latent power, a flicker of pyromancy that occasionally sparked to life, threatening to consume her hard-earned control. In a society where unsanctioned magic was met with suspicion, the Nalaars made a fateful decision. They counseled Chandra to suppress her fairy gift, urging her to conform to the consulate's stringent regulations. Embracing her parents' wishes, Chandra buried her pyromantic abilities deep within, focusing instead on her inventions. As the years passed, Chandra's reputation as a prodigious inventor blossomed. Her creations, imbued with a unique flair, garnered accolades at the annual Inventors Fair. Yet in the quiet moments between wakefulness and dreams, she felt the simmering heat of her suppressed magic, a constant reminder of the path untaken. One evening, while fine-tuning an ether-powered automaton, Chandra's concentration wavered. A stray thought ignited a spark at her fingertips, sending her blueprints aflame. Panicked, she doused the fire, but not before the incident caught the attention of a passing consulate inspector. The official's eyes narrowed, suspicion etched upon his face. "Is everything alright there?" he inquired, his tone laced with authority. Chandra forced a smile, her heart pounding. "Just a minor mishap, all under control." The inspector's gaze lingered before he nodded curtly and moved on. The encounter left Chandra shaken, a stark reminder of the delicate balance she always maintained. That night, sleep eluded her. Her mind wandered to the tales of renegade mages who wielded their magic freely, defying the consulate's restraints. She wondered what life would have been had she embraced her pyromancy instead of stifling it. Would she have become a beacon of rebellion, challenging the very foundations of Girabur's order, or even more? In the dim glow of her workshop, Chandra sighed, her breath a wisp of smoke in the cool air. The path she had chosen was one of safety and conformity, yet her soul yearned for the wild dance of flames. As dawn approached once more, she resolved to find a way to harmonize her dual passions, to forge a future where invention and innate magic could coexist without fear. In this alternate reality, Chandra Nalar's journey was not one of open rebellion but of quiet resilience. She remained a brilliant inventor, her fiery spirit channeled into creations that subtly defied the boundaries imposed upon her. And though the flame of her true nature flickered just beneath the surface, she held onto the hope that one day she could let them blaze forth in all their glory. In Chandra's Magic Origins card, we learn why Chandra could never have stayed under the radar for too long. Her creature side says that whenever you cast a red spell, whenever fire is around Chandra, whenever creativity is around Chandra, you get to untap Chandra, and then you can tap her to deal 1 damage to target player. She was meant to burst into flames and deal damage and wreak havoc around Kaladesh. Then if Chandra has dealt 3 or more damage this turn, so if you could have tapped her 3 times to deal 1 damage every time, then return her to the battlefield transformed under her owner's control, meaning that her fire was finally unleashed and she became the Roaring Flame, a planeswalker that deals damage that shocks players by dealing 2 damage to them or their creatures by doing the same to those creatures. But eventually, like with all Chandra's planeswalker cards, her ultimate would help you deal the finishing blows to your opponents, not at once but as a roaring flame that can't really be stopped. In this case, Chandra deals 6 damage to each opponent, and each player dealt damage this way gets an emblem that deals 3 damage to them at the beginning of their upkeep. Well, that's a good answer to Obika decks if I ever saw one. Central to Chandra's early turmoil was Diren Baral, a high-ranking officer within the consulate known for his unyielding pursuit of rogue mages. Baral harbored a personal vendetta against Chandra and anything that was red mana colored, viewing her uncontrolled pyromancy as a direct threat to the order he sought to maintain. His blue mana affinity manifested in a desire for control, structure, and suppression of chaotic elements, leading him to see Chandra's red mana fueled spontaneity and passion as antithetical to his ideals. This fundamental clash of philosophies, Baral's calculated restraint versus Chandra's impulsive fervor, fueled their animosity. His obsession with capturing her led to numerous confrontations throughout their lives, each escalating in intensity. Baral's relentless pursuit culminated in a tragic encounter. After tracking the Nalars to a remote village, he orchestrated a raid that resulted in the death of Chandra's father, Kiran, and the capture of her mother, Pia. Overwhelmed by grief and rage, Chandra's emotions ignited a catastrophic firestorm. devastating the village and searing her fate in the eyes of the consulate. Or so she had thought for most of her life. But actually, the consulate had started this fire to frame Chandra, and Chandra would live with the guilt of killing her parents, but later she would learn that actually it wasn't so bad to let go sometimes after all. Captured and sentenced to public execution, Chandra faced the ultimate suppression of her fiery nature. As the executioner approached, the intense pressure and her indomitable spirit triggered her latent planeswalker spark. In an explosive surge of flame and fury, Chandra transcended the physical confines of Kaladesh, her essence casting out into the vast expanse of the multiverse. This cataclysmic event not only marked Chandra's first planeswalk, but also left an indelible scar on Baral and Chandra, both physically and psychologically. The flames that erupted during her ignition seared his flesh, a constant reminder of the power he sought to extinguish. For Chandra, the trauma of losing her family and the violent awakening of her planeswalker abilities became the crucible that forged her path. A journey defined by a relentless quest for freedom, justice, and eventually self-acceptance. Thus, from the ashes of her past, on Kaladesh, Chandra Nalaar emerged as a beacon of rebellion, her flames lighting the way for those oppressed by tyranny and igniting hope across the multiverse. After her tumultuous escape from a tumultuous early life on Kaladesh, Chandra Nalaar found herself on the plain of Regatha, a world as untamed as the fire within her. Nestled amidst Regatha's rugged mountains stood Carol Keep, a sanctuary for those who danced with flames. Founded in honor of the legendary pyromancer Jaya Ballard, the monastery was more than just a place of learning. It was a haven where fire wielders would embrace their true nature without fear. Within the stone walls of Carol Keep, Chandra sought to master her volatile abilities. The monks taught that the fire was not merely a force of destruction, but a manifestation of one's inner self, a tool to be wielded with intent and precision. For Chandra, whose flames had always mirrored her passionate and rebellious spirit, the concept of control felt like a cage. To her, fire was freedom, a wild, unbridled force that defied restraint. For another side story, I am wondering what would happen if Chandra met the god of fire, meeting an entity beyond mortality like Gideon has done so many times. The air shimmered with heat before Chandra even saw it. The sky above was split between smoke and molten gold, a place where the very atmosphere crackled with the raw essence of fire. She had stepped into something ancient, something alive. The plane was unknown, uncharted, its very ground pulsing like the slow breath of a slumbering inferno. Volcanoes stretched across the horizon, their peaks crowned with ever-burning flames. Rivers of magma carved veins into the land, forming symbols she did not recognize but felt deeply, as if the fire within her resonated with them. This must have been heaven. Then she saw it. A figure rose from the largest caldera, its form shifting between roaring flame and solid obsidian. It was neither man nor beast, yet it carried the presence of both. A burning crown wreathed its head and its eyes, if they could be called that, were twin supernovas, staring through her, into her. Chandra swallowed hard. Hey. The entity did not answer. Instead, its voice rumbled through the ground, beneath her feet, through the air, through her bones. You have come to know fire. She braced herself against the sheer weight of its presence, of its voice. I am fire. You are a spark in a storm, a flame in a tempest. You claim to know fire, but do you know what it means to be fire? Chandra clenched her fists. I've lived with it all my life. It's part of me. It's destruction, the entity interrupted, its molten form shifting. Rage, freedom, rebellion. This is what you believe fire to be. Chandra's jaw tightened. And what do you think it is? The entity lifted one immense hand, and suddenly the world around her changed. She was no longer on the god's scorched domain. She stood in a village, a simple one, made of thatched roofs and wooden beams. It was burning. Screams filled the air. Black smoke curled into the sky and people ran, their faces contorted in terror. Chandra's stomach twisted. No. The entity's voice came again, calm, unyielding. Destruction. The flames vanished. The world shifted. Now she was in the cold tundras of Imeris, where a family huddled around a small flickering flame. Their breaths were mist, their fingers pale with frost. The fire was their only warmth, their only life. Salvation. Chandra turned, but the vision melted away again. A temple rose before her. Ember-morn's priests kneeling before an altar of living flame, whispering prayers as the fire curled into divine shapes. Their expressions were not of fear, but of devotion. Reverence. The images shattered, and Chandra was back on the smoldering land, the fire entity towering over her. She exhaled, the weight of understanding settling in her chest. I always thought fire was just what I made it, she murmured. But it's not, is it? It's everything. It's change. The entity's burning gaze did not waver. You are beginning to see. Chandra looked down at her own hands, at the flickers of flame dancing between her fingers. They had always been a source of power, but now she saw them for what they truly were. A choice. She lifted her head. And what am I supposed to be? The entity let out something like a chuckle. Low, rumbling, a landslide of embers. That, little flame, is for you to decide. And with that, the god of fire turned, its body dissolving back into the heart of the volcano. The heat did not fade, nor did the weight of its presence. But as Chandra stood there, staring at the molten world around her, she realized something. She was not afraid. She turned away from the god's domain, stepping forward not to escape, but to walk toward whatever lay ahead. Because fire did not simply destroy, it did not simply burn, it became. And so would she. During Chandra's time at the monastery, Chandra's restless nature led her to the Dragon's Scroll, an artifact of immense power and mystery, even though she didn't really know it back then. Driven by curiosity and a desire to prove herself, she stole the scroll, and an act that did not go unnoticed. This whole bold theft drew the attention of Jace Beleren, a telepathic planeswalker tasked with retrieving the stolen artifact. Their encounter was a clash of elements, Chandra's fierce flames against Jace's calculated mind magic. The battle was intense, each testing the other's limits, but neither could claim absolute victory. Despite their opposing natures, a mutual respect began to kindle between them, even though it felt like hate at the time. Jace wasn't really there because he wanted to retrieve the artifact, Jace was there because he wanted the artifact. As time flowed like the molten rivers of a volcano, the teachings of Carol Keep began to seep into Chandra's soul. She learned that while fire could be a force of chaos, it could also be a beacon of hope, a light in the darkest times. Embracing this duality, Chandra's journey at Carol Keep was not just about mastering her flames, but understanding the fire within her heart. And then at the moment that the scroll was stolen by Jace Beleren, she really felt what it was like to hate again with that fire, and that sometimes it was necessary in order to do what must be done. Thus, amidst the ancient teachings and the ever-present glow of embers, Chandra Nalaar's path of self-discovery continued, her spirit burning brighter than ever. The Carol Keep Monastery stood as a sanctuary for those who danced with flames. Founded upon the teachings of the legendary pyromancer Jaya Ballard, the monastery championed personal freedom and the unbridled expression of one's inner fire. Here mages from across the multiverse gathered to hone their crafts, embracing the raw power of pyromancy. Chandra Nalaar was among them, a young planeswalker whose spirit burned as brightly as the flame she conjured. Her approach to magic was instinctual, driven by passion and emotion. To Chandra, fire was a manifestation of her very soul, a wild, untamed force that mirrored her own rebellious nature. However, within the hallowed halls of Carol Keep, not all shared Chandra's perspective. Eldritch, a seasoned pyromancer with a demeanor as cool as the mountain air, viewed fire through a different lens. For him, pyromancy was an art that demanded discipline and control. He believed that without mastery, fire could lead to destruction and chaos. Their contrasting philosophies often led to spirited debates during communal gatherings. One evening, as the sun dipped beyond the horizon, casting a warm glow over the monastery, Chandra and Eldritch found themselves embroiled in one such discussion. "Fire is freedom," Chandra asserted, her eyes alight with fervor. "It's about letting go, allowing the flames to guide you." Eldritch shook his head, a gentle smile playing on his lips, and yet, unchecked, it consumes everything in its path. Without control, fire is nothing more than a harbinger of ruin. Chandra crossed her arms, a spark of defiance in her stance, as always. "So, we cage it? Diminish its essence to make it safe?" "Not cage," Eldritch corrected softly. "Guide. Channel its energy with purpose. A controlled flame can forge steel, provide warmth, and illuminate the darkest paths." Their exchanges continued, each challenging the other's beliefs, yet always with mutual respect. The monastery encouraged such dialogues, understanding that through the clash of ideas, growth was forged. One crisp morning, Mother Luthi, the wise matriarch of Carol Keep, observed the two pyromancers from a distance. Recognizing the potential for both to learn from each other, she proposed a challenge. "Chandra, Eldritch," she called, her voice carrying the weight of authority, tempered with warmth. "It's time to put your philosophies to the test, together." The task was simple in concept but profound in execution. Ascend Mount Carelia and ignite the ancient beacon at its summit. A rite of passage for many at the monastery. The journey was fraught with treacherous paths, unpredictable weather, and mystical creatures drawn to the mountain's latent energy. As they embarked on their ascent, Chandra's impulsiveness often led them into a precarious situation. At one point, eager to clear a blocked path, she unleashed a torrent of flames without hesitation. The resulting blaze threatened to engulf the surrounding forest. Eldritch intervened, his controlled flames countering the inferno, preventing widespread devastation by fighting fire with fire. "Passion without foresight can lead to unintended consequences," he chided gently. Chastened but undeterred, Chandra began to appreciate the value of restraint. In turn, Eldritch learned to embrace spontaneity when, during an unexpected avalanche, Chandra's swift, unrestrained magic diverted disaster. Upon reaching the summit, they stood before the unlit beacon. Instead of igniting it individually, they combined their flames. Chandra's fierce and wild, Eldritch's steady and controlled. The beacon roared to life, its light a testament to the harmony of their approaches. Descending the mountain, both had gained a deeper understanding of their craft. Chandra realized that control didn't equate suppression, and Eldritch acknowledged that passion could lead to innovation. Back at Carol Keep, Mother Luthi greeted them with a knowing smile. "Fire, like life, thrives in balance. May you both carry the lesson in your hearts." From that day forward, the philosophy of fire at Carol Keep was enriched by the fusion of chaos and control, teaching that true mastery lay in embracing both aspects of the flame. Chandra Nalar later returned to her homeland of Kaladesh. There she was met with a revelation that ignited a whirlwind of emotions. Her mother, Pia Nalar, was alive. Once believed lost to the oppressive grip of the consulate, Pia had not only survived, but had risen as a formidable leader of the renegades, challenging the very authority that sought to extinguish Chandra's spirit. The reunion of mother and daughter was a conflagration of joy, sorrow, and lingering guilt. Chandra grappled with the weight of her perceived failures, her emotions flaring as uncontrollably as the flames she wielded. Central to Chandra's turmoil was still the looming presence of Baral, the very architect of her family's suffering. a man whose soul was as scarred as his visage, had long harbored an obsessive vendetta against Chandra too, stemming from their fateful encounter years prior. Their inevitable confrontation was not merely a clash of magic, but a battle steeped in personal history and raw emotion. Chandra, no longer the frightened girl of the past, faced Baral with a resolve forged in the crucible of her experiences. As their duel intensified, she unleashed a torrent of pyromancy, overwhelming Baral's defenses. Yet, standing over her defeated adversary, Chandra made a pivotal choice. She granted him mercy. This act signified a profound evolution in her character, a testament to her growth beyond vengeance. Baral's downfall was not just a personal victory, but a symbolic severance from the chains of her past. However, the embers of her emotion continued to smolder, reminding her that the path to inner peace was still fraught with challenges. Through these trials, Chandra's journey on Kaladesh became a testament to her enduring quest for justice, self-discovery, and the reconciliation of her tumultuous past with the promise of a brighter future. Chandra was not alone at this point. Chandra, Torch of Defiance, was together with Nissa, who talked her down from killing Baral, and was together with her friends of the Gatewatch. So yeah, we're missing a bit of story, but I think this is so pivotal that we need to continue here. Chandra, Torch of Defiance is a card, a 4-mana Planeswalker card for Chandra that really shows what Chandra is all about. She's been a hot flame in Standard for a long time because of the aggression that she adds to the mid-game of Mono Red. And I think this is perfect for Chandra as her culmination of story here on Kaladesh, where she returned to her old home, showed that she was the Torch of Defiance now, and could finally let her flames roar wildly over the world and show what Defiance was about. Chandra breaks free from her classical way of being a Planeswalker. Now she adds mana. She helps others by giving them mana, by giving her power to other people to use as creativity, as defiance, as sparking a flame in their hearts. She exiles the top card of your library, enabling you to cast a card, because she is creative herself and because she sees opportunities and places a path through any obstacle. But she still can deal damage. With her -3, for example, she deals 4 damage to a creature, killing most creatures in Standard, but also showing that when she lets go, she can definitely burn a hole in any of your creatures. And of course, she still has that emblem that says whenever you cast a spell, this deals 5 damage to any target. This does mean that you need to work together with other mages, because Chandra now helps her friends and is empowered by them, and is able to really show the world that she has 2 sides now, not only one, but the one side is definitely still one that you need to look out for. Like I said, Chandra wasn't alone at the point when she returned to Kaladesh, and this is another story. The story about the formation of the Gatewatch, one that is pivotal to Magic as a whole. Chandra Nalaar's path led her to the embattled plane of Zendikar, a world besieged by the colossal and enigmatic Eldrazi at that time. Here, destiny intertwined her fate with 3 other formidable planeswalkers: Jace Beleren, Gideon Jura, the indomitable warrior, and Nissa Ravane, who talked Chandra down later from killing herself, basically. And Nissa Ravane would be a very pivotal character in Chandra's story altogether. Together with these 3 other planeswalkers, they confronted the monumental task of defending Zendikar from annihilation. Chandra's innate impulsiveness often set her at odds with Jace's meticulous and strategic mind. Their initial collaborations were marked by friction, as fire and intellect fight for dominance. Yet, amidst the crucible of relentless battles, a mutual respect began to kindle once more. Chandra's raw power complemented Jace's tactical acumen, forging a synergy that proved indispensable against their formidable foes. I mean, what is a better pair of colors than red and blue in this game? Amidst the chaos of war, Chandra found another unexpected connection with Nissa Ravane. Nissa's serene demeanor and profound bond with the land and mana in there stood in stark contrast to Chandra's fiery temperament and using up of that same mana. This juxtaposition intrigued Chandra, drawing her closer to the elven planeswalker that made her feel at home and very at ease at the same time. Their interactions were a delicate dance of passion and tranquility, each offering the other a perspective previously unconsidered. As battles raged around them, their bond deepened, hinting at emotions that transcended mere camaraderie. Whether this connection blossomed into romance or remained an unspoken understanding, it undeniably added a layer of complexity to Chandra's journey, and we will see later what the answer is. The crucible of Zandigar's trials culminated in a pivotal moment: the formation of the Gatewatch. Recognizing that some threats required a united front, Chandra, alongside her newfound allies, took a solemn oath to protect the multiverse from overarching dangers. This commitment marked a significant evolution in Chandra's character again. Once a lone rebel driven by personal vendettas, she now stood as a guardian of countless worlds, her flaming flames not just for herself but for the greater good, together with her allies. Through camaraderie and conflict, Chandra's experiences on Zendikar reshaped her understanding of power, of responsibility, and of connection. The alliances she forged and the challenges she overcame solidified her role as the cornerstone of the Gatewatch, ready to face whatever perils the multiverse might unveil. Or so she thought. An oath is also not really anything that Chandra thought she would ever take, but her oath does say a lot. Where other people's oaths are true promises of things they would do and things they would look out for, Chandra's oath is actually an oath against oaths. She says if it means that people can live in freedom, yeah, I'll keep watch. Still putting a leg out of there, not really standing in the oath in the Gatewatch, not really promising anything to them, but as long as people can live in freedom, then yeah, she will keep watch. Not really doing anything about it, she will just watch basically, but she will fight anything that stops people from being free. Another multiversal threat came from Amonkhet. The Gatewatch set their sights on Amonkhet, the desolate dominion of the formidable elder dragon, Nicol Bolas. Driven by a potent mix of righteous fervor and perhaps a touch of hubris, they embarked on this mission with scant preparation, underestimating the ancient and cunning adversary that awaited them. Upon arrival, the harsh desert landscape of Amonkhet offered little solace. The oppressive heat and relentless sandstorms and worms mirrored the brewing tempest within Chandra. Her fiery spirit, usually an asset, now teetered on the edge of recklessness. The team's lack of cohesive strategy became glaringly apparent as they confronted Bolas. Chandra's impulsive nature, once a beacon of hope, now led her to charge headlong into battle, her flames fueled more by indignation than insight. The confrontation was swift and brutal. Bolas, with millennia of experience and a plodding playing on Amonkhet and unmatched power, dismantled their assaults with ease. Chandra's searing attacks, which had felled titans, barely singed the dragon's skills. Each failed strike chipped away at her confidence instead of at his body, and the weight of overestimation bore down heavily upon her. The Gatewatch, once a symbol of unity and strength, found themselves fractured and defeated, their morale scorched in the fires of their own arrogance. One by one, Nicol Bolas defeated the Gatewatch by defeating them with their own strengths. Nissa was defeated because the soul of the world of Amonkhet was gone and Nissa really couldn't see it being killed again. Liliana's power was all that she had gathered, but still Nicol Bolas could take it away with the fell swoop. Jace had so much potential but really didn't live up to it to Nicol Bolas, and this fact just burst his mind open and let him flee to Ixalan. And Gideon's defeat was all about his invincibility being torn by just a touch of Nicol Bolas. But Chandra's defeat was a simple burn, let's say. Nicol Bolas said, "Fire, is that your only trick, Chandra?" And to Chandra, yes, this was actually true. Hence, fire wasn't enough, so really Chandra had nothing to do in that fight from that point onwards. Another side story. The embers of Amonkhet still flickered in Chandra's memory, the weight of her defeat against Nicol Bolas pressing on her like an iron band. She had spent days in restless silence, staring at her own hands, tracing the paths where fire bloomed. Too destructive, too unpredictable, too much but not enough. She had always thought of fire as a force of freedom, an unshackled power that burned away oppression. But now, for the first time, she wondered if she had been wrong. Could fire ever truly be anything other than ruin? It was Jaya's old teachings that sent her to the small village on Regatha, a place where the mountains breathed with heat but the people lived in harmony with flame. There Chandra sought out a woman called Nareen, a fire mage like herself, but with a reputation for wielding fire in ways Chandra had never considered. Chandra found her in the heart of the village, surrounded by children who watched wide-eyed as Nareen lifted a hand and conjured a flickering globe of fire. Instead of an explosion or a roaring inferno, the flame twirled in the air like a dancer, its colors shifting from gold to deep crimson. It caused warmth without harm, light without destruction. The children laughed and reached for it, their hands passing through harmless heat. "How do you do that?" Chandra asked, stepping forward. Nareen turned to her, the fire vanishing with a gentle breath. "Do what?" "Make fire safe." The words felt foreign in her mouth. Fire was never safe. Not for her, not for anyone who had faced his wrath. Nareen studied her for a long moment, before motioning for Chandra to follow. They walked through the village, past homes warmed by small contained flames. Fire pits, stoves simmered with stews, candles glowed in windows and great braziers lined the village paths, their light soft and inviting. "Fire is not the problem," Nareen said at last. "Intent is." Chandra scoffed. "Yeah? Tell that to a burning building." Nareen smiled. "Or to a cold traveler who finds warmth by the hearth. The fire is the same. It's the heart behind it that changed its purpose." Chandra frowned, rubbing at the back of her neck. "I don't know if I can do that. I don't think I've ever held back before." Nareen led her to a quiet clearing at the village's edge, where a great bonfire sat unlit. Waiting for dusk, she knelt and held out her hands, then tried. Chandra hesitated before crouching beside her. She reached for her fire, felt it coil beneath her skin, eager as always. But when she let it loose, it came in a rush, too fast, too much. The bonfire caught in an instant, the flames leaping high, licking the night sky. Nareen sighed, then snapped her fingers. The fire responded to her as if it had been listening all along, curling back into itself until it was merely a steady, gentle glow. "Fire doesn't need to be loud to be strong," she murmured. "Try again, but this time listen to it. Let it speak before you command." Chandra swallowed. Fire was her voice, her defiance, her rage. She had never thought to let it speak first. She closed her eyes, reaching for the heat, but instead of pushing it forward in an explosion, she held it, cradled it. It flickered in her palms, uncertain, waiting, and then slowly she let it out, not in a blaze but in a whisper, a single tongue of flame, curling into the wood, catching gently, spreading softly. The fire burned, warm and steady, a quiet heartbeat in the dark. Chandra let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Nareen smiled. "See? Fire listens." For the first time in what felt like forever, Chandra believed it. In the real story, in the aftermath of the fight with Bolas, Chandra still grappled with the maelstrom of emotions. Doubt gnawed at the edges of her once unshakable resolve. The raw power she wielded seemed insufficient against the calculated might of Bolas. Questions plagued her thoughts. Was her approach too brash? Could sheer force ever hope to overcome such ancient evil? The flames that once roared with certainty now flickered with uncertainty, casting long shadows of introspection. This humbling defeat on Amonkhet served as a crucible for Chandra. It illuminated the chasm between strength and strategy, between passion and prudence. Recognizing that unbridled fire could consume indiscriminately, she began to understand the necessity of tempering her flames with wisdom. The path to redemption and growth was clear. She would need to harness not just the fire in her hands, but the fire in her mind, forging a balance between her innate fervor and the discipline required to face the multifaceted challenges ahead. After the humbling defeat on Amonkhet, the Gatewatch found themselves at a crossroads. Their confidence shattered and their unity tested. Recognizing the need for guidance and growth, Chandra and Alar embarked on a journey to Dominaria, seeking wisdom to temper her fiery nature. Dominaria, a plane rich with history and magic, was home to legends Chandra had revered since her early days at Carol Keep. Foremost among them was Jaya Ballard, the iconic pyromancer whose teachings had inspired countless mages. Chandra's heart raced with anticipation and trepidation at the prospect of meeting her idol. Upon arrival, Chandra's expectations were upended. Jaya was not the idealistic figure of legend, but a seasoned warrior, her demeanor shaped by centuries of battles and experiences. She revealed that, under the guise of Mother Luthi, she had been subtly guiding the pyromancers of Carol Keep, including Chandra herself. This revelation was a bitter pill for Chandra, who felt both betrayed and enlightened. Jaya's teachings diverged from the unrestrained use of fire that Chandra was accustomed to. She emphasized that true mastery of pyromancy lay not in unchecked fury but in disciplined control. Fire, Jaya imparted, was a tool that could forge and create, not merely destroy. This philosophy challenged Chandra's deeply ingrained beliefs, leading to internal conflict. The path to embracing restraint was arduous. Chandra grappled with the notion that holding back could be as potent as unleashing her full power. Through rigorous training and introspection, she began to understand that true strength lay in the balance between passion and control. This evolution marked a pivotal chapter in Chandra's journey, transforming her from a reckless firebrand into a disciplined pyromancer, ready to face the challenges that lay ahead with newfound wisdom and the ability to deal damage to two creatures at once. In the heart of Ravnica, beneath a sky darkened by the looming presence of Nicobolas, we found Chandra and Alar, who faced the ultimate ending of her journey. The cityscape, once vibrant with life, now trembled under the weight of impending doom. The Gatewatch, battle-worn yet resolute, stood as the last bastion against the Elder Dragon's insatiable ambition, together with the bunch of planeswalkers that really weren't about the Gatewatch in any way. Chandra, her fiery spirit tempered by past trials, emerged not only as a warrior, but once more as a beacon. Her flames, once wild and untamed, now burned with purpose and clarity. Leading the charge, she coordinated assaults, her strategies reflecting a maturity hard-earned through countless battles. The streets of Ravnica became her battlefield, each skirmish a testament to her growth from a rebellious pyromancer to a seasoned leader. Yet even the fiercest fire can waver. As the dust of war settled, the Gatewatch lay fractured, their unity splintered by the harrowing conflict. Gideon Jura, the stalwart shield of the team, had fallen, his absence a gaping void in their ranks, as he had once taught Chandra that order could be a fine thing to be around, at most. Liliana Vess, whose intricate dance with darkness had both aided and betrayed them, had vanished into the shadows. The camaraderie that once fortified them now seemed a distant memory. For Chandra, the path ahead blurred into uncertainty. The battles had ceased, but the war within her raged on. Doubt gnawed at her resolve. Questions of purpose and direction loomed large. The flames that once guided her now flickered with hesitation. casting long shadows of introspection. In the silence that followed the chaos, Chandra stood for another choice. Her next move, she didn't know. Thus, amidst the ruins of Ravnica and the echoes of a war that reshaped the multiverse, Chandra Nalaar faced her most profound challenge, redefining herself in a world irrevocably changed, where the only constant was the ever-present flicker of her inner fire. Some time after, while Chandra Nalaar still found herself adrift, her purpose obscured by the shadows of recent battles, it was amidst this uncertainty that a new plea for aid emerged from the plane of Innistrad. A world perpetually ensnared in twilight, now teetering on the blink of eternal night. The sun's retreat threatened to plunge the realm into unending darkness, a prospect that imperiled all its denizens, for the night did wield the most dangerous monsters. And Chandra had been here before to fight another Eldrazi titan, so she heeded the call. Chandra journeyed to Innistrad again, where she allied with Arden Court, a werewolf planeswalker torn between her dual natures, and a coalition of other defenders. Their mission to rekindle the balance between day and night and stave off the encroaching abyss. In this endeavor, Chandra's mastery over fire took on a profound significance. Her flames, emblematic of hope because of the light they brought in the time of darkness, became beacons that would pierce through the oppressive gloom, illuminating paths merely shrouded in fear. Here, fire became a weapon of destruction and a vital source of warmth and guidance, a testament to the enduring spirit of resistance. Innistrad, however, was a realm rife with horrors that defied simple incineration. The labyrinthine forests teemed with werewolves whose primal fury matched Chandra's own inner fire. Ancient vampires, their immortality steeped in cunning and malice, wove intricate schemes that could not be unraveled by mere conflagration. The omnipresent dread that pervaded the lands was an adversary intangible, impervious to her customary fiery assaults. Confronted with these challenges, Chandra was compelled to reassess her approach. She began to understand that raw power, while formidable, was not always the answer. Strategy, collaboration, and the nuanced application of her abilities were paramount, even now that she didn't have the usual gatewatch around her. This evolution in her perspective marked a significant maturation, again, as she learned to navigate the delicate balance between force and finesse. As she struggled to restore balance intensified, Chandra's journey on Innistrad reached a moment during the grand event known as the Crimson Vow. This opulent affair, orchestrated by the vampire elite, was more than just a celebration. It was a nexus of power and intrigue. Amidst this labyrinth of politics and clandestine machinations, Chandra's role transcended that of a mere combatant. She was defiance. Her presence, a disruptive force against the meticulously laid plans of Innistrad's vampiric aristocracy. You can always count on Chandra to be that beacon, that defiance, that fire. Through cunning and courage, she and her allies sought to thwart the sinister designs that threatened to engulf the plane in perpetual darkness. In the crucible of Innistrad's trials, Chandra Nalaar's character was both tested and tempered. She emerged with a deeper comprehension of her powers and a renewed sense of purpose, embodying the light that persists even when all seems enveloped by shadow. And she did the same to herself. The multiverse is vast and new threats always loom large. The Phyrexian invasion being one of the main events that will return in everyone's minds. A relentless force seeking to corrupt and conquer all in its path in singular colors. And of course, Chandra Nalaar seems like a singular color, but really is a little bit more complex than just being red mana. For Chandra, this war was unlike any she had faced before, as it struck not only at worlds but at the very heart of her relationships. As the Phyrexians advanced, their insidious strategy of completion turned trusted allies into formidable adversaries. fighting them once more like she had done with Jace, for example. Chandra's heart wrenched upon encountering these twisted versions of her friends, their familiar faces now bearing the cold, unfeeling gaze of Phyrexian influence. The internal battle was as fierce as the external one. Each confrontation forced her to reconcile her duty to protect the multiverse with the anguish of opposing those she once held dear, and of choosing not to protect Kaladesh but attack the danger head-on. Amidst the chaos on Phyrexia, a devastating blow struck Chandra's spirit, the loss of her mentor Jaya Ballard. Jaya, the seasoned pyromancer who had imparted wisdom and discipline into Chandra's very nature, fell in battle, her flame extinguished by the merciless tide of war. This loss pierced deeper than any wound, leaving Chandra grappling with sorrow and a profound sense of emptiness that she had to leave on Dominaria. In her final moments, Jaya imparted a lesson that would forever shape Chandra's path. Fire is not solely a force of destruction, but it can be a light of legacy. What one leaves behind, the lives touched, the inspiration sparked, holds as much significance as any battle won or any fire that holds its own now. Embracing this revelation, Chandra resolved to honor Jaya's memory by continuing the fight and bringing it to Phyrexia. Her answer was clear, her flames now fueled by a purpose greater than herself. And I think that brings us to another side story. The price of immortality. The scent of old parchment and ash filled the air, warm, familiar, impossible. Chandra blinked, her vision swimming between reality and something other. She wasn't sure if she was dreaming, trapped in an illusion of Jace, or if some lingering magic had reached across time itself. She was back at Carol Keep again. The firelit alcoves flickered against stone walls, lined with tomes, scrolls, and relics of pyromancers past. Chandra knew this place, but it felt quieter, emptier. And then, standing against one of the bookshelves, arms crossed, was her, Jaya Ballard. Chandra's breath hitched. "You're not real." Jaya smirked, pushing off the shelf. "Yeah, well, you're not exactly one to play by the rules of reality either." Chandra hesitated. She had seen illusions before, felt a string of false hope, but this felt real, or as real as anything could ever be when it came to spirits, memories, or the lingering echoes of a fire that refused to go out. "You're dead," Chandra said, more accusation than statement. "Yeah, I noticed," Jaya said, her tone light but laced with something heavier beneath it. "Still doesn't mean I can't give you one last lesson." Chandra swallowed hard. "Why now?" Jaya gestured toward her. "Because you've been wandering. Not just across the multiverse, but in here." She tapped the side of her head. "You've been looking for something, but you don't even know what it is." Chandra clenched her fists. I thought I knew who I was, what fire was, but now..." She let out a sharp breath, staring at the flames dancing in the nearby brazier. "I've seen fire as sacred, forbidden, healing. I've seen people fear it, worship it, and I don't know what my fire is anymore." Jaya stepped closer. "Kid, when have you ever known exactly who you were?" Chandra looked away. "I always thought fire meant freedom. And now? I don't know. That mission felt raw, like an ember too long exposed to the wind. I thought I was exposed. I was meant to burn bright, fight hard, make a difference. But all I do is destroy." Jaya let out a long breath. "That's the price of power, Chandra. Every flame leaves something in ashes. But you get to decide what you burn." Chandra's chest tightened. "And if I choose wrong?" Jaya chuckled, low and warm. "Then you try again." She nodded toward the flames. "Fire isn't just about destruction, it's transformation. It's about creation. You've already seen it. You just don't trust yourself to believe it yet." Chandra ran a hand through her hair, frustration warring with understanding. "What if I can't change?" Jaya placed a ghostly hand on her shoulder, the warmth of it real despite everything. "You are fire, kid. Change is what you do." The room flickered. The scent of parchment and smoke faded. Chandra woke up with a sharp inhale. Heart pounding. The embers in her campfire still glowed, steady and warm. For the first time in a long while, she felt the fire inside her not as a burden, but as a promise. She didn't have all the answers, but maybe she didn't need them yet. She had time, and she had fire. That was enough. In the aftermath of the Phyrexian invasion, the multiverse needed symbols of resilience and unity. The announcement of the Girapur Grand Prix, an interplanar race originating from Avishkar, offered just that, a testament to innovation and collaboration across worlds. For Chandra and Nalar, still mourning the loss of her mentor, Jaya Ballard, and grappling with the scars of recent battles, the Grand Prix presented a new purpose. The race's grand prize, the legendary Ether Spark, an artifact containing a Planeswalker spark, symbolized hope, but also was something that her girlfriend Nissa wanted. So she was determined to honor Jaya's legacy and sought a way to restore her companion Nissa's lost planeswalking abilities. Chandra embraced a challenge with renewed vigor. Returning to her home plane, Chandra reunited with her mother, Pia Nalar. The years had transformed their relationship from one of estrangement to a deep unspoken understanding. Pia, a renowned inventor and former leader of the resistance against the Consulate, saw the Grand Prix as an opportunity to showcase Avishkar's spirit of innovation. Together they formed a racing team that blended Pia's mechanical genius with Chandra's fiery prowess. But Chandra was poached to fight for another team. Their collaboration used to be more than just a partnership. It was a healing process, mending old wounds and forging a bond stronger than ever. But Chandra really needed to win, so she joined the winning team of last year. The Grand Prix was unlike any race before, spanning multiple planes and testing racers' adaptability and resilience. The circuit included Avishkar, which was, of course, the main hub of the race. It was a hub of invention and artistry too, and where the air buzzed with ether-powered devices, the cars really needed something like that to fuel them. Then Amonkhet, a desert world marked by resilience and rebirth after what we all know what happened there. Here races faced scorching sands, ancient ruins, and the ever-present reminder of the plane's history. The inhabitants, both living and undead, watched with a mix of hope and skepticism, seeing the race as a sign of renewal in any case. And then Muruganda, a primordial land that really didn't want anything to do with racers at all. Each plane presented unique obstacles, but the race was not just a test of speed and adaptability, but it was a test of courage and the ability to navigate the diverse challenges of the multiverse. So it should be perfect for Chandra. The Grand Prix attracted a myriad of participants, each with their own motivations. Like Sita Pharma, a formidable racer and diplomat from Avishkar, who really didn't want to be a diplomat because her father was one and she wanted to be different than her father. Sita would be Chandra's primary rival. She had a sleek ether-powered vehicle and did race in Chandra's mother's name. She pushed Chandra to her limits, forcing her to balance raw power with finesse, but this time on a racing track. Then the Reddy, who was a goblin artificer who had also joined the race because really he was stranded on Avishkar and now he found a group of goblins that wanted to go really fast, so how couldn't he join? The interactions Chandra had with these people highlighted the diverse multiverse, where alliances should shift and would always change in a heartbeat. And every racer had their own story driving them forward. And for Chandra, the race was all about discovery, redemption, and about Nissa's future. The possibility of using the Aether Spark to restore Nissa's planeswalker weighed heavily on Chandra's mind. Their bond, forged through countless battles and shared struggles, was a source of strength and vulnerability. Chandra was determined to help Nissa, her girlfriend, with a personal urgency to add to her own quest. And, of course, inside of Chandra, the race was also a crossroads, challenging her to balance her impulsive nature with strategic thinking sometimes. Each obstacle forced her to confront her fears, harness her emotions, and evolve from a fairy rebel into a disciplined racing warrior. Through the trials of the Grand Prix, Chandra grappled with her past decisions, the weight of her losses and the hope for a brighter future together with Nissa. The climax of the Grand Prix was definitely not what you would expect. It forced Chandra to fight her old friend Jace once more, and it forced Chandra to ally with her new enemy. So basically, nothing that you would expect happened exactly as you would expect it from Chandra. For Chandra, the journey solidified her commitment to her friends, her home, and the multiverse. The lessons that she had learned along the race would guide her path forward again. And in the end, the Girapur Grand Prix was more than a race. It was a testament to the resilience of the multiverse and the indomitable spirit of those who dared to chase the horizon. And for Chandra, it meant that she could once again touch her girlfriend's essence. Nissa really was all about being calm, but she was also about being one with yourself. And I think Chandra has found this in the race. As a whole, Chandra Nalaar's journey has been one of transformation. From an untamed wildfire to a guiding flame. In her early years, Chandra's pyromancy was a manifestation of her impulsive and rebellious spirit, often leading to unintended consequences and to being a plot device. However, through mentorship and personal growth, she had learned to harness her innate fire with purpose and precision. No longer a mere force of destruction, Chandra's flames now symbolize hope, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Her evolution reflects a profound shift from raw power to enlightened control, embodying the journey from chaos to purpose. As the multiverse heals from the scars of the Phyrexian invasion, Nicobolas, and many other damages to it, Chandra stands, contemplating her path forward. Central to her thoughts is her deep bond with Nissa Ravain. Their relationship has weathered numerous challenges, from the early sparks of connection to the heart-wrenching trials of war. The recent events, particularly Nissa's completion and subsequent restoration, have added layers of complexity to their bond. Chandra's unwavering commitment to Nissa showcases her capacity for profound love and loyalty to whatever can calm her very heart, even in the face of unimaginable adversity. Beyond personal relationships, Chandra is redefining her role in a post-Phyrexian world. With the Gatewatch's original mission complete and the multiverse in flux, she seeks to channel her energies into new causes, perhaps focusing on rebuilding war-torn planes or mentoring emerging mages. Her journey is far from over. It is a continuous evolution, mirroring the ever-changing nature of fire itself, and that calls for another side story. Because what about the planes that we haven't seen? Chandra looked at the horizon, the scent of foreign air filling her lungs. For the first time in years, she was free from war, from duty, and from the weight of the Gatewatch's burdens. The multiverse stretched before her, infinite and unknown, and she intended to see it all. Her first stop was Embermorn, a plane where fire was sacred. Here, grand temples rose from the lava flows, their golden spires reflecting the eternal flame that burdened at their peaks. The people of Embermorn revered fire as a gift from the gods, a force of wisdom rather than destruction. Chandra marveled at the way the priests shaped fire into elegant sigils, their movements fluid and reverent. She had spent her life hurling fire like a weapon. Did I say elegant? I meant elegant. But here, it was an art, a language of devotion and grace. The thought unsettled her in a way she couldn't quite name. Next was Factis, a world where fire was still outlawed. In the smog-choked streets of its massive city-state, the air shimmered with artificial light but lacked warmth. The citizens lived under strict ordinances that forbade open flames, a law enforced by the Steel Guard, mechanical sentinels that snuffed out any stray spark. Chandra felt like an ember trapped in glass, her very existence a threat. She tried to keep her power in check, but the weight of suppression gnawed at her. When a young girl secretly asked her to light a single candle to remember her lost family, Chandra hesitated, but in the end she couldn't deny the girl's request, one tiny flame flickering in the darkness. It wasn't rebellion, it was remembrance. From world to world she wandered, discovering places where fire took on new meanings. On Avaris it was a force of healing, used in rituals to cleanse sickness. On the frozen tundras of Emiris, fire was the most precious resource of all, guarded fiercely by those who had it. In some places she was welcomed as a bringer of warmth and light, in others she was feared, her power seen as a harbinger of ruin. Through it all, Chandra began to understand something about herself, something Jaya had tried to teach her a long time ago. Fire wasn't just what she wielded, it was what she was. And maybe it could be more than destruction. Maybe if she listened closely enough, fire could be whatever she chose it to be. As she stepped into the next unknown plane, Chandra smiled to herself. The multiverse was vast, and she had all the time in the world to explore it. Chandra embodies the essence of fire, wild, passionate, transformative, and eternally burning. Her story is a testament of the power of personal growth, resilience, and the enduring human spirit. From a rebellious youth to a seasoned planeswalker, Chandra's evolution resonates with many, making her one of the most dynamic and beloved characters in Magic the Gathering lore, even if she might be the most hated. Her journey inspires us to embrace our inner fire, to harness it with purpose, and to let it light the way through the darkest of times. Thank you for watching. Bye.